one of the individuals that came up last year was Daniela Morse. Daniela has done such amazing work. We want her to come back up on stage. And I got introduced to Daniela through the editor from Rolling Stone magazine. I was at a Christmas party for my wife's company. And he's, what do you do? What do you do? I'm speaking, talking. I have no idea who he is. And he starts saying, like, I need to give you my card. I'm thinking, like, oh, God, not a job interview right now. This is not what I'm looking for. And he wanted to write about us, but more importantly, he told me about this individual, Daniela, that we had to meet. That she was one who was changing lives, changing the world. And if you think of autism, it went from like 2,000 to 1 to now it's like 60-something to 1. It's crazy how much bigger the problem has gone. And I think when you think about, real tough things like autism, most people spend so much time labeling, the spectrum of it and whatnot, that few have any solutions of what to do. And we met a lot of individuals who said labeling without having what to do is kind of cool, right? It's like branding someone, but without anything to do. And we went up and have spent time with Daniela for the last couple of years. They are doing the most amazing things. She runs multiple farms, and literally there are individuals who come to her farms unable to speak, unable to move, and in 90 days they start to gain back speech, motor movement, and the coolest people we have met are doing the craziest things in the most simplest ways. And they have found a way to do it in scale. And Daniela represents that with what she has done. So wanted to bring her back up and just tell you more of what she's doing and working on. So.
This time I'm a little bit better prepared. Last time I was just scared. This time I'm prepared and scared. It's like, so I'm so glad that I could be here again. Just a little bit of an idea of what we're doing. So we are an hour north of Boston, and we're supporting 45 children, 100 adult in day program, and 110 adults in residential programs through kind of community living situations. And what we do is we take kids and adults out of institutions, the ones with the locked doors, and we are transition them into what we call non-contained settings. And I think Charlie said it brilliantly. Often best things are done really simply, right? Because what do we do with somebody who comes from a contained environment, and many kids on the spectrum, many adults on the spectrum, or many adults with developmental disabilities and mental health issues growing up in those kinds of settings. And what we found is if we just approach people in a kind of normal, non-pathologizing ways, give them opportunity to contribute, have them make connections to nature, teach them skills, great things happen. So we were able to really, to create at first anecdotally and almost accidentally that we said, well, this worked with this kid, it worked with 5 kids, it worked with 10 adults. Is this really something that, that makes sense? And what we found is it does. If we create environments and opportunities for people to feel nurtured, to feel valued, and to have purpose in life, many things fall into place. If we give opportunities for normalized sensory integrated activity, if you look at farm work, for example, farm work is heavy proprioceptive activity, and many of our kids and adults benefit from that. So if we offer those things, not in medicalized settings or pathologizing settings, then, the kind of, the traditional medical supports that often are so expensive and often do not work are not necessarily needed. There's always a place for therapy. There's always a place for traditional kind of interventions. But what we've found is really the eco kind of therapy principles have worked well. They increase quality of life, and they also save money. So one of the things you may ask is like, why, how do we come kind of together? How do we come to Next Jump? And if you think about it, the principles of Next Jump are very, very similar to ours. So while in the human service world, I have not found really many kindred spirits to what we do, I found them in Next Jump. And, I want to talk a little bit about that because Next Jump has taken corporate responsibility to a whole different level. Most often, people look at nonprofits as custodians of social challenges. So we are looked at as to take care of the homeless, but not to solve the problem of homelessness. And so nonprofits kind of have a bad rap. We're always on the receiving end, but we're really kind of in a position to help to solve social challenges. So if you think about it, the amount of kids and adults that are on the spectrum is mind-blowing. The amount of money that is needed to take care of the adults and kids on the spectrum is tremendous. The workforce that takes care of adults and kids on the spectrum is not there anymore. By the year 2020, we are running out of staff to take care of the current social service needs. So we have a huge problem. We have to find ways how to make people, regardless of what the challenges are, enable them to be productive citizens, enable them to contribute not only for the quality of life, but also for our own very own survival. So Charlie and Megan and Next Jumpers have, in a really tremendous way that I've never experienced before, understand that it takes all of us to solve those social challenges. As nonprofits, we don't have the opportunity. But Charlie and Megan, it would be easy for them to just say, well, Daniela, we could just give you money. Most people understand corporate responsibility as just giving money. But giving money, and don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with money, but giving money is not enough, because we are needing to benefit from the expertise. Charlie and Megan have really partnered with us. When they say adopt a school or adopt an agency, they really mean it. Just like they have a no firing policy, they adopted us. We are still here. I go to leadership academies that I benefit from tremendously. They're not looking at me as somebody who's on the receiving end. They're looking at me as somebody who is a partner in solving social challenges that we can otherwise not solve by ourselves. And there is a relationship building. One of the things, for example, is the very existence of our human service culture is depending on our ability to hire and train new staff. So when I go to leadership trainings, the things that I learn that are so universally applicable, doesn't matter if it's the military or corporate America, also are ensuring my very survival. The notion that for-profit companies can really partner with us is spreading. And there's another huge big piece here. When Charlie and Megan called me a while ago and said, Danielle, we really want to invest in the education of your kids and adults with disabilities, right? I almost cried. And I have to tell you, I'm not a sentimental person. But I almost cried. And you know why I almost cried is nobody invests in my kids or my adults. They're disabled. So for an organization to say that they're not investing in gifted kids or regular kids, but in our kids and our adults was absolutely amazing. Because also, particularly in the light that, if you go to the Leadership Institute, you will hear Charlie and Megan say, really education is there to prepare people for the workforce, for the need of the future workforce. If my kids and adults with disabilities don't get an education, they have no value. There is no workforce. And so we took this notion and we kind of started spreading. I said, well, if Charlie and Megan believe that, maybe other people would believe that too. And we developed a really comprehensive vocational training program where we teach our kids and adults, and some of them are nonverbal, marketable vocational skills. And I almost brought a tag box with me to give to Joey, who actually came to our agency in our first horse show. She was the judge. And they built this beautiful tag shop, but then a box. And I figured, going to New York City with a big wooden tag box is not a good thing. But they built this beautiful tag box. And to just kind of to show that people with disabilities have value, that can build beautiful things, that can be contributing citizens. What has happened out of all this now is that I now know that people may be willing to look at kids and adults differently. We have found other agencies and companies who are hiring our folks, who are hiring our kids with disabilities in paid positions, sometimes above minimum wage, because they have such marketable vocational skills. So, I think those are the kinds of solutions, and it's the kind of word that's spreading that makes Next Jump so absolutely amazing and really a forerunner, a completely different kind of social corporate responsibility. And I cannot tell you how touched I am and how privileged I feel by their support, all the things I've learned, and that I'm part of really what I feel is the Next Jump family. So thank you very much.